Welcome back to this Wednesday edition of the show. If it's a Wednesday, it means we're talking with Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com, who joins us. Sam is here as well. I'm not going to lie, man. I had the feels last night watching. The NBA on NBC has got me hooked.
Look, I caught, you had texted me about that. I caught most of the second game out here on the West Mid. Like, I loved the score bug, and then the cutbacks. It's Hannah Storm doing the, it was a fun trip down memory lane. It was much, and it's, you know what? They picked the right tonight to do that because there wasn't a lot of other reasons to stay tuned to Spurs versus 76ers.
Not.
Other than the broadcast. So I thought it was fun. There's, we'll see how they handle some of that again. But I got to say, and I don't think it's just us. I think what NBC has done and what Amazon has done has really just elevated the discourse in a lot of ways. Like, I think their pregame and postgame shows have been fantastic. The production value has been great. Like, I think it's been really impressive.
I agree. And I'm not kissing up here. I'm very happy with what the NBA broadcasting. I know everybody's going to say, oh, there's too many games. You don't know which networks they're on. Dude, use a program guide. Like, seriously. They don't care and not for nothing, the NBA doesn't care if some 65-year-old doesn't know how to figure out where the game is. They don't want that guy anyway. They want the guy, who's a lot younger.
Talking about Charles Barkley like that.
God almighty. I'm just saying.
Look, I think the fragmentation question is legitimate, but it's also welcome to the world today.
Exactly.
Like, I genuinely don't know how you get around it with sports or a lot of other things. Everything's fragmented.
So the Spurs bounce back, a good win for them. They had a bad loss against the Knicks. This game against the Sixers actually started out very similarly to the way it did against the Knicks, where they got out to a fast start. Philly came back, and then the Spurs put the hammer down. Do we want to pass this off as, hey, Wemby and those guys were just tired against the Knicks? Or is there something to be said for if we get a Knicks-Spurs finals, which, by the way, I think would be a very entertaining final. Sign me up for that. Ratings bonanza. If we get a Knicks-Spurs final, I think the Knicks can beat them. I think if you have Mitchell Robinson in there against Wemby for 7 games, I think the Knicks can beat the Spurs in a 7-game series.
I don't think that was the best version of the Spurs, but I think what you saw in that game was some really smart tactics on how to deal with the challenges Wemby presents. Their X's and O's handling, their cross-court passing, their again, having Mitchell Robinson, having Cat out there, even though Cat didn't have a great game, really helps with their floor spacing and stuff. I thought, no, they hit their threes, which is a key. But no, I think Knicks showed that they can create some matchup problems for the Spurs. And I honestly would still take the Spurs in the series, but I think the Knicks make it much more interesting. And that's the kind of gritty team that succeeds in the playoffs. And that's really the question about, it's a question about Detroit. Well, not the gritty part, but can you succeed in the playoffs? Same with San Antonio. We haven't seen you do it. So we need that validation. I
will say this real quick on Wemby. It is the stuff that doesn't show up in the box score. When we talk about most valuable player and all this, and he's not going to win it, but his value on the court, I can't count how many times. I lost track how many times last night. Philadelphia getting into the lane, and just his presence forcing them to kick the ball out, for less opportune or lesser opportunities, if you will. I every time I watch, it's the stuff that doesn't show up in the box score with this guy, Kurt, that his dominance, it cannot be overstated, his impact on the game. And they've got, and I hope when they get to the playoffs, they play him more than 27 or 28 minutes.
Yeah, I think you're going to see those minutes go up in the games that matter into the low to mid 30s. He just changes the geometry of the court, and much in the way you described, which is, it's not, did he average 3.5 blocks a game in February? Yes. But that's not, and the altered shots isn't it. It's the guys second guessing their decision. It's driving in and going, oh crap. And just having him there forces, you can't just lob it over to the dunker spot or some stuff they'd like to do. He's just too big, too long, and able to cover so much ground that he just kind of shuts everything down or makes it much more difficult. Yeah. The Knicks handled that brilliantly, but you got to hit a lot of you got to hit a lot of tough shots to make it work against it's not just them, man. Their guards are big and physical. Like that's just that's a well-built team.
Castle is a beast. Go ahead, Sam.
Kurt, the hottest team in the East right now by far is the Charlotte Hornets. They absolutely railroad the Dallas Mavericks last night in a matchup that, if you asked me a month ago, I would have been very excited to watch between Cooper Flagg and Con Knippel. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. But my question for you is this: how real of a threat are the Charlotte Hornets going to be come the playoffs?
It's a good question. Look, they're probably not going to win their first round series, but it's going to be entertaining, right? They're going to get in. Like, first off, I don't think 6 seed, them avoiding the play-in completely, is out of the question. Most likely, though, they're going to come through the play-in, and then they're going to get one of the, either Detroit or New York or Boston, whoever finishes second. Suddenly you got to work in your first round series, right? Because Con Knippel's knocking down shots, LaMelo Ball. Yeah, you could attack him defensively. The guy just has a great feel for the game. He's entertaining to watch. Bridges has been good. He wasn't good last night. He's generally good. They've got they have found a way to make it all fit really well together. And by the way, he probably isn't going to end up getting a whole lot of Coach of the Year votes, but Charles Lee deserves some credit for how he's come in and got that team to buy in and play this way within a couple of years. It's starting to turn a culture there, and that's something they needed.
Kurt, I'll go back to old reliable, the 65 game limit, because that's part of the reason we're going to end up with Con Knippel getting these Rookie of the Year votes. Has there been any updates since last week on your opinion on this 65 game limit and how it hinders voters?
I now fully support it as a voter. I think it's still, again, and it wasn't just me. I believe it was Blake Griffin was on a podcast this week and was just like, man, what I said, which is just let the voters decide. We already calculated it in. You're not going to get crazy stuff, I don't think. So, and by the way, the amount of crazy stuff you see in that voting changed 10 years ago when they stopped using journalists, but guys who covered teams and paid for by teams, some of the broadcast guys, they don't get a vote anymore. And the vote became public at the urging of the Pro Basketball Writers Association that I'm a part of. Said, no, let's make the votes public. Once you did that, now, man, if you decide to vote some random guy second or third on Rookie of the Year, you get called out.
Everybody's going to see it.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to see it. Kurt Helin, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. One more segment with him on the NBA next. Another segment on the NBA with the one and only Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. By the way, we're now taking this segment, these two segments with Kurt every week and putting them into their own podcast, their own YouTube video as well. So if you just want Kurt, every week, you could just have Kurt. What was that, Kurt?
I think my wife will tune in, but no, you should. You should tune into those things.
So anywho, you got JJ Redick out there saying, Luka Dončić showing me up on the court. It's typical. It's no big deal. Is he right? Is it no big deal? I mean, you've been to a number of games. Is this dynamic sort of a constant between them?
I don't think it's a constant. I don't know that it's a great relationship. I don't think this is, Kerr and Curry or whatever the bond you want is. But I think what you're seeing with the Lakers, remember when that happened was the part of a 3-game losing streak where they had 3 ugly losses in a row. And I think on losing teams, you get star players and coaches kind of frustrated with each other. And Lakers and Laker fans are increasingly frustrated with Luka's lack of defense and just that game last night. I don't know how much of it you watched. Both teams, I think, between Zion and Luka, like every call was complained about. Everything. It's like it's kind of wearing on people a little. So I think it's wearing on JJ, but JJ's seat is hotter. So he's going to acquiesce here. But I don't think he's in trouble this season. But I think he and Rob Pelinka are on the clock. You got to make it work this summer. We got to see positive steps next year. or things might be changing.
Of all the things we see in the NBA and potential changes, do you think there is a tipping point here when it comes to the league where they come out and they get more aggressive with guys arguing calls and officials having shorter leashes and being told, hey, enough, more technicals being handed out to stop this? Because the constant pounding from Karl Anthony Towns, Luka Dončić, all the usual suspects. Do you think there's a point where the league does something about it?
It's a hard line to walk because nobody wants to just start handing out technicals. And part of the problem that they had, especially over the last few years, there's just been a generational changeover. Some older refs that guys could talk to, or that kind of knew when to pull, when you've crossed the line, and guys kind of knew where the line was with those guys. Scott Foster's line's in a different place than everybody else. But with those guys, you've got to know where the line is. With the younger refs who were trained on coming up, don't talk back, don't talk to them, put up your hand, walk away, don't have these conversations, where NBA players want to be able to, they want some, hey, this is what I saw, this is what I didn't, you can handle that eventually. And I think some of the refs may eventually get there, but right now there's just not this comfort level with that.
Yeah. I wasn't coughing because of what you were saying. I had a piece of ice go down my throat. Go ahead, Sam. Whew. I might be out for the rest of I might be on the DL here.
Are you all right, Jason? Do you need a minute?
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Okay. Kurt, one of the funniest, I got to work some Wizards talk in here. One of the funniest things I've seen in the league this year is a player not even dressed for the game getting thrown out of it. That's what we saw out of Trae Young earlier this week. He's supposed to make his season debut, his Wizards debut, I should say, Thursday in DC, I believe. Yes. If I told you that there was a hypothetical line at the Sam Yarnell Sportsbook set, Trae Young over under 5.5 games played the rest of the season, which way would you tend to lean?
Ooh. I would almost lean under unless when that first game's against Utah, so it's a tank-off game. If they win a couple of those, and they've won a little lately, if you start to win games, Trae's, you want to bet on the oblique or the hamstring, right? Like whatever it is, lower back, like whatever your injury of choice is coming up, and he's going to be out again. But if they can find a way to do that and not win games too much, then
really,
you've got to look. They've got a top 8 protected pick. They can't start winning. They can't afford to start winning, so they're not going to. And Trae can be part of the losing in limited minutes, or rest him, or only play him in the games. We can't play him all the time. We're only going to play him against Oklahoma City and San Antonio and Detroit, and the games you're going to lose anyway.
Sam, I know you want to get to the Terry Rozier stuff, so go ahead.
There's more. There's obviously a status hearing going on in that massive poker case off the court, Kurt. Chauncey Billups, obviously Terry Rozier also involved in it, but Chauncey Billups involved in it as well, could potentially enter a plea deal as early as Wednesday. If that happens, what would you say the chances are that we see Chauncey back at the end of the bench for the Trailblazers by the end of the season?
0. There's the PR on that would be, even if he were exonerated in some way, I think the PR on that would be rough. And frankly, I don't know that he'll have an on-the-bench job in the NBA again.
Wow.
Now, he's a good basketball mind, and could he be in a front office or as part of a front office in some role?
Advisor.
Yeah, but I would be, anything that would have him forward-facing in a serious way, I don't think you're going to see again.
Wow. That's and I hate to say it's unfortunate, because it's he put himself obviously in this position, but the NBA was better with Chauncey Billups as part of it.
I thought, by the way, it took him a while to find his feet as a coach, but that team had been improving under him. Tiago's probably keeping that job.
Tiago's done a really well. I was going to say, Tiago Splitter's done a really good job there, and again, off of the Greg Popovich sort of coaching tree. Keep that in mind. He was a Spurs guy. We always talk about coaching trees in sports.
I will add this. I am working on something that's become my topic of du jour. Why did the 76ers trade Jared McCain again? Like that one. He went out last night and led the Thunder in scoring on a night they were.
I told you when that move happened, I loved that move. Yeah. I went crazy about that move.
And the thing is, it's one of those, like, you look back and it was definitely money. It was, gets them and then they released Eric Gordon. It gets them under the tax. So it was a money thing. But man, he's like, we sold high on him. I'm like, no, you really did not. Like,
they really didn't, because he was in the G League for them freaking a month before they traded him.
Well, he was coming off the injury, so I don't think he was frightened. And Jared, I'll give Daryl Morey this. Like, look, Maxey and Edgecombe are your future in the backcourt, right? Like, that's kind of obvious. But you can't use a guy on a minimum contract who could, like, to come off the bench like that. There's real value in what he does and will do for a while. So hey, Oklahoma made a really smart move, and it's paying off. I am stunned by this.
If I give you everybody healthy in the West, Spurs, Thunder, Nuggets, who's coming out?
Sacramento. No. I'll take OKC. All things being equal, I don't know. I mean, the Spurs are really good, and it's a legitimate question. I do think there's something to learning how to win in a playoffs where the matchups become key, and just kind of getting used to that vibe and experience where Oklahoma City has it. Oklahoma City has all the depth too, and we just haven't seen it. They haven't been healthy long enough, and that's part of their concern. They've got to find a way to get Jalen Williams out there and playing enough that this whole thing starts to click together. But I'll still take the team that did it before. But either one of those.
You mean the Nuggets?
And by the way, healthy Denver, I'm not sleeping on.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Healthy. If Denver's healthy, I would not be shocked if Denver came out of the West, man.
Which is why Oklahoma City holding on to the 1 seed, trying to avoid the 2-3. You don't want to have to play both of those two teams to go through. You'd like to have because I think look, the fourth team is probably Houston, and Houston's good but flawed in much more significant ways.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those three teams come out, and health is going to have a lot to do with it. If all things being equal, I'll still take the Thunder just over the Nuggets. Although preseason I picked the Nuggets, so I'm covered there, right? Like I can hedge my bet there.
So what places have you made your hotel reservations for?
The only one I've got right now is Oklahoma City. I think I might need to make a Detroit one.
Oh, Detroit's not coming out of the East. Stop it.
I know. Well, yeah.
They're not coming out of the East.
Boston, I should probably check Boston. The problem with Boston, literally booking the hotel rooms, is less anything other than Boston in the summer is expensive because it's filled with tourists walking the Freedom Trail and, having their chowder and taking their vacation. And so it just becomes hard to get rooms there just because tourists book them up. Same with New York. Like, I might have to go with the league hotel for that one just because they've got pre-booked rooms and eat the price.
You've heard the Windhorse thing, right? What he does throughout the season?
Oh no, yeah, he pretty much every national writer, I don't want to say every, most national writers, a lot of them do that. I've already booked, like I said, got a room in Oklahoma City. We'll probably add that. Everybody pre-books, especially markets where you want to be in. Like in Oklahoma City, I want to be in this one specific courtyard that is 50 yards from the door of the start of the entry to the building. So, yeah,
exactly.
Now I just gave away
exactly.
That's my stay. That's good. But now everybody's trying to stay in
specific
hotels in specific cities. So.
Yeah, we're not editing that out. Everybody's going to know where you stay.
Get doxxed, Kurt Helin.
The mobs that show up to see me everywhere I go. I imagine my life is much like Chris Martin from Coldplay. It's very similar in how we're just kind of mobbed everywhere we go.
Fair enough. Kurt Helin, pro basketball.
I don't know. The viewers of this show are insane. There's this one guy. There's this one guy who 2 days in a row has sent me emails about how I know nothing about the NFL and proceeded to get something wrong about the NFL in his email.
Well, who is it? Call him out.
This guy. He doesn't know. He doesn't have a name attached to his email. His email
it's emails?
AG7.
How are people emailing you? Your email isn't out there.
you got to really go deep because my Twitter handle's on the frame of me on the show. If you go to my Twitter and click the link in my Twitter, that takes you to my website. If you go through my website to the Contact Sam form.
Wow. Somebody really did a lot of work to come after you.
Jason, just as a side note, how's our AI agent that's going to harass Sam going? Are we close to launching?
I still got the guy that harasses. I have a guy who harasses me for drinking my drinks while I do the show.
Yes.
There may be people who harass me. I do not read the comments, man.
Oh, I love it. I'm like Kevin Durant, man. I feed off that.
Jason has multiple burners.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. You should see what those say. All right. That's going to do it for us. Kurt, thanks for being part of the SportsWrap NBA Weekly that we do here on the show. Kurt Helin, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. We're out of time. Thank you.
No worries.